2005 FX35. Just did a motor swap on it. So all right, let me start off by saying this. I apologize to you guys for making half-ass videos, basically starting videos in the middle of the project or towards the end of the project or whatnot. As you know, this is my second time doing this one. I had the G35 sedan, 2003. Did the same exact thing, did a motor swap on it for the 06 in there or whatnot. But let me walk you through what I did real quick where I'm at now. This is a new motor, it's already in there. All right, so I already done up my other motor. Now this motor right here, 100 and over 200K on it. Had over 200K on it, ended up spinning the bearing. You know, so I bought this one, and when I bought it, before I put it in there, I had it on the stand. Now the reason why I didn't do the video from the beginning, guys, because I was on crunch time. This is actually at my job in my base, so I had to do it and real quick. You know, I had to do it real quick, so I didn't have time to make this video. I had the motor for about 2 weeks before I put it in there. I had to order some parts. Didn't go through Infinity, but I got quoting and pricing from Infinity to get the 2 timing chain tensioners, to get the primary tensioner, and to get the timing chain guides in the water pump, as well just the internals or whatnot. So just a real quick recap. This job was fairly, if you're mechanically inclined, this was fairly easy. I did it by myself. It's super easy, and there may be some parts where if you guys do this, you may need some help. You know, you may need 1 or 2 people help guide this in or whatnot. So this is an all-wheel drive. It was easier for me to pull out the whole drivetrain with it instead of separating everything or whatnot. So this was, like I said, this was super easy, man. When it came down to breaking down the suspension on the driver's side, the CV axle, as you can see, has these alu torque bits right here that you gotta wrench off 1 by 1. 6 of them in there. And that's all you gotta do for that side, the drive side. You just pop out that axle, bloop, take that off after you hit the engine mounts. Engine mount right here, hit that bolt, and hit this bolt, engine mount right there. Then on the passenger side, you have to actually drop this little cross member here. Drop this little cross member to drop the lower control on. Once you drop your lower control on, get your sway bar link, your outer tie rod, your outer tie rod, knock that off, and your CV axle will pop out of your front carrier. Pop that out, pull it, push it to the side. Now, how I started this, taking off the front bumper, anybody know, you guys, real quick recap, is just taking off these little plastic clips on the top. It's about 4 of them. Pop these off, right? Well, pop these off, and then you'll come down to the side. Anybody that got Infinity, once you start from the top, pop off those little side clips. You pop these down, get a little flathead. You have to get a little flathead and kind of pry it. As you can see, I broke the tab, kind of pry it, wedge the flathead in there to pry it out. Boop, should be like 3 or 4 of them. 3, 4, 5 of them. Pull that out, and then pull that out on both sides. And there'll be 2 screws, 2 10mm screws, basically sitting here. One right there, and one right there that you have to get from inside of the. So between the bumpers here, you have to get it from inside. 2 10mm on both sides, guys. Both sides. Bomb. Once you get that off, take a couple of the screws off the bottom. Your front bumper cover, it's this right here, come off. All one piece. Pop off your fog lights. Pop those off. Disconnect those. You have your radiator, your front bumper support. Pop that off. I took off my hood so I can have the clearance for the hoist, and so I can have the light. You know, just I like space when I work. I like wide open space, as you can see. As far as this. Pop that off, and then when taking off your radiator, this is your power steering lines. You gotta pull off power steering line on one side, lower radiator hose, upper radiator hose, reserve tank filler, and your AC lines. You guys have to evacuate your AC system. Pop off your AC lines with the fabulous AC tool. line quick disconnect. That's what they call them. You knock those off. Once you knock that off, take off a couple sensors in the front, balance, take off your front radiator, your bumper support, pull that off. You take that off, pop off your headlights. Your headlights be the next thing you take off. Right here, about 3 10mm bolts, 1, 2, 3. Pop those off, and then you got it right there. It's basically look like this. Put your reservoir tank to the side, your power steering port when I pulled it off. So once it gets to this point right here, guys, once it gets to this point right here, you got everything naked. You got your coolant drain, you got your AC drain, your power steering drain. Make sure you guys have buckets and rags for your transmission lines. Transmission line I like to do, I like to put spark plugs, old spark plug at the end of it to keep it from dripping, catching. So that's what I do. There's fluid in it because I just started it up. But not so it is sounding beautiful, man. So when I had this out in the park, I did the timing chain, I cleaned the timing cover, I cleaned my intake, I had my intake clean them off. I cleaned that, cleaned all the carbon buildup in the runners, the lower intake clean them, I cleaned that off, it just cleans everything. Pop on the oil pan, clean, bone dry, super cleaned, all the internals. So once it gets to this point right here, next thing you're gonna want to do is pop off your air intake, knock off your air intake, knock off your hoses. You're going to take off your accessories. Your power steering pump is just gonna hang to the side. You just pull that off, knock off your hose. Like I said, you would have already drained it, knock it off and push it to the side. Alternator, you have to take off completely. Your tensioners, you guys know how to tension it. Break off your 14mm nut, your 12, 14, 8, 12. Right there. Take your belts off, pull off your AC compressor, pull it to the side. Now you guys have access to your engine mounts. Now I suggest you hit your engine mount bolts right there, knock those out. The next step is to take off your wire harness. Suggest to start on the driver's side because that's where your wire harness disconnects at. You start on the driver's side where you'll get your mass airflow, not your mass airflow sensor, your throttle body position sensor, your throttle body sensor. You will get your injectors on this side, your O2 sensors on this side, your camshaft position sensors on this side, as well as your coils. You knock off your coils on this side. Take off this wire harness, and this wire harness will flop, to this side. This whole wire, this whole, everything that you see right here that goes down to the compressor and it runs to your starter. Everything will come and it'll flop over. Disconnect everything on this side, all your connectors, to your fuel pressure regulator, to 2 10mm, your turn line. Pull all that off, push it to the side, push everything to the side, take off your cooler line. Now what I did when I was taking out my engine, I actually took off my upper intake panel. Why? Because it was easier for me to access the back of the belt. I was back there, take anything off I needed to take off. It was also easier for me to chain it because I used 2 chains, one running down to this exhaust manifold and the other one running down to that exhaust manifold, the left side exhaust manifold. I ran them together as a Y, met them right here, and I ran it up here to the front of this hole. So I caught my chain, picked up my motor, and was able to pull it out beautifully. Well, that wasn't it yet. So after I knocked out all that, brought it up, that's when I hit my axle, bottom, like I showed you earlier. Hit your axle on your driver's side. Take out suspension on your left side, your CV axle, raise it up in the air, and don't forget to disconnect your battery, guys. You know, I didn't mention that. Disconnect your battery and whatnot, and like I said, this job is it's very time consuming. I like to take my time and make sure I do it right. You know, make sure you double check everything, man. Even if you've done this 110 times, make sure you double check everything. Once again, this is me swapping, just a motor swap, and I did nothing spectacular to the other motor. I just cleaned up the inside, the intake, the exhaust, just cleaned it up a little bit, so it's like as if it came out of the factory. Cleaned up all that carbon buildup. I used Valvoline for synthetic 1030 wet. Is the best, is what I recommend to use for these motors. Is what I've ran, and I found them to be that coming down to the bottom, so I had to cut off my exhaust. It was rusted, so I had to cut it off. I had new cats on, sorry. That's why. But anyways, what you're going to hit down here is your cat support. Knock off your cat support right here, boom. These two 14mm, 14 14 millimeter, 14 millimeter. Disconnect your oxygen sensors, disconnect your catalytic converter. 14, 14, 14. You gotta do your disconnect your drive shaft. Hit those right there, 17 millimeters, both sides. Wrench both sides. Wrench. Disconnect your shifter. You disconnect your shifter right there. A butterfly clip. Pop off your shifter. Bam, bam. Hit your transmission support. Now, when you hit your transmission support, this will drop tremendously. So be careful. Juice. This will drop and it will hang tremendously. One thing I did have a little, like I said, I did this by myself. And if I had someone with me, or if I had a floor jack, I did it without a floor jack as well. This may not have happened, but I kind of banged up my rack and pinion, as you can see, bringing the engine and transmission in and out. And it's not as bad as it seems. It looks like, oh man, hey, you banged it up, like you had problems going in and out and wobbling it. And it's like, nah, it was super easy. Just if I had someone at the bottom driving it, I was picture me stretching to lower the hoist and angle it, drive it at the same time. Let's just say that. So that's where this came from. Lowering, reaching with the handle to lower the jack and to angle it at the same time. So if I had someone angling and lowering it, this would have never happened. Point blank period. Starter, disconnect the starter down there. What you gotta do, disconnect the starter. Like I said, I took everything out with one. And that was pretty much it for the bottom. You know, this comes out your cross member. Come on, you hit these 14, 14, these 14, 14. You have to hit that to get your load control on, off, knock it off. And that was all I had to do to the bottom, man. Hit the exhaust, covered that. And that was it. And she was loose. Like, she was literally loose. Like, that's nothing else holding it there. So I just hosted it up, jacked it up, pulled it out, laid it on my table, split it, took my engine from my tranny, split it, put it back together. I have pictures. I have pictures of what I did. Sorry I didn't make a video, like I said. I have exclusive pictures. Just changed my oil pressure switch. I gotta clean it up, make sure it's not leaking. But I have pictures that I will post. And hopefully throughout the pictures you guys see my progress. It was a little finicky getting my carrier back in because it's super tight seal. So make sure that's extra lubed when you're putting your carrier back in. I'm running royal purple in my rear and front carrier. Rear and front carrier. I haven't done my transfer case yet. I'm not gonna mess with the transmission. Like I said, I did this very quick, man, in a quickly timely manner. You can see that this one's one. I might want to take it apart and see how many bearings that's going to whatnot. But simply, that was it. So that is all there is to it. That is all there is to it, man. And as for doing the timing, I have pictures of it. Doing the timing. Make sure your timing marks are on point. Make sure you're on top dead center. And everything after that is kind of self-explanatory. I'm not sure if I really had any difficulties with it. It's been a while since I did it right now, but yeah, I'm not too sure. For beginners, there are more detailed videos out there. I'm sorry, I'm not as detailed, man. But this is just for someone that's just like, man, I want to do this. I know I messed with a couple cars before, but I'm not too sure about this or whatnot. But this is what I meant by when you take off the plenum, you have access to all of this in the back. Your cam sensors, you can disconnect. Your injectors, you can disconnect. Your coolant temp sensor, you can disconnect. You can disconnect from your knock sensor. Disconnect all of that. You disconnect your airflow. You disconnect everything back here once you take off this plenum. That's what I meant from the car. From it being in the car, you had the 10 millimeter bolt you have to disconnect, and then it's just easier to mount it, but to grab the chains and to hook it and pull it. You know, so when putting your timing cover back on, make sure you use a lot of silicone, man. I use a lot of silicone. Make sure that more is better than less, you know. More better than less. But as for you doing this the first time, man, I'm sorry, this is not the video for first timers, for step by step. Details, I just didn't have the time to do it. You understand? So I didn't have the time. Hey, just another video, another 3.5, man. Infinity motor, man, just got done. Wrapping her up, I'm about to put this front end on and run my transmission coolant lines. Check my fluid level. Run my transmission coolant line, my power steering, put some power steering fluid in there. Put some coolant in it and let it run, let it sit. Because it's basically almost like a new motor, man. It's super clean inside. So I'm gonna let it run let the cooling temp build up, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, guys.